Okay, I really should get a haircut. And technically, the last time I got a haircut was in July, but I was trying to have my hairstyle look like Superman's. But since the hype train is over for that, I need to get a trim. Also, do not mind the meow. That's my cat. You know what? I'm gonna actually try to let my cat in here. Okay, there you go. Alright, buddy. You should have any fleas, hopefully. I don't know, I've been trying to kill the damn fleas. Ask him, hey, buddy, you don't mind me filming the video? I mean, you just gotta be chilling there. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's all okay. Oh, come on. Say hi. Yeah. Say hi to the viewers. Alright. Alright. On with the video, shall we? I'm a little late to making this because I was trying to have this out before I went to go see Fant4stic 1st Steps. And the only reason I'm making this video now is because Fant4stic just turned 10, as that movie was released 10 years ago today. And technically, I did film this video. This is a redo because the other one ended up being 42 minutes long. It basically took up all the runtime, as I have about 44 minutes left and 30 seconds to record. It never ends with the storage issues! Oh, I'm sorry, did I? Oh, you weren't startled by me screaming. So my cat Jeremiah is just gonna be chilling on my bed as I make this video, but the last video that I tried making of this, I didn't take notes. I just tried going off of the back of my head. This time, I'm gonna be talking about some thoughts I wrote down on my letterbox. As taking notes always helps me out whenever I'm gonna be doing a review on a show or a movie or even a video game. But yeah, with that being said, hello everyone, welcome back to another triple movie review on the channel. So this will be my review on all three Fant4stic 4 movies before we had gotten Fant4stic 4 First Steps, where I talk about my thoughts on Fant4stic 4, Fant4stic 4 The Rise of Silver Surfer, and then Fant4stic. But with that being said, let's get down to my thoughts on all three Fant4stic 4 movies and upload this video ASAP. Because if I don't post it before midnight, well, at least I posted a video celebrating Fant4stic's 10-year anniversary, even though everyone hates that movie. Well, almost everyone. There's 3 people I know that like it. My mom, Jaden, and me. Well, not entirely, but you'll know my thoughts later on. Anyways, now talking about my thoughts with the first 2 Fant4stic 4 films that were released in the 2000s. Are these movies bad? Maybe. Do I love them? Absolutely. I think we can all agree that the 2000s Fant4stic 4 movies hold a special place in all of our hearts. Which is funny to say because the first one came out a year before I was born, and then the sequel came out a year after I was born, and I would have been like 1 year old by the time Rise of Silver Surfer was released. But yeah, this was my Fant4stic 4 growing up as a kid, and 2 decades later, I still love these movies. Now, where am I at with the team as a whole? The way I feel about the Avengers, I'm on the same level, where I just preferred the Avengers over the X-Men, but that was before I had a changed opinion about the X-Men about a year ago. But yeah, the way I love the Avengers is the same way I feel about the Fant4stic 4. But now let's talk about the pros I do have for Fant4stic 4. I think we can all agree that the cast for this movie is fantastic.
Say that again?
Hot take, everyone was like perfectly casted in their role, and it still blows my mind that Chris Evans played both Human Torch and Captain America. Now, if you were to ask me which role I prefer him in, I'm gonna have to go with Captain America, because I think that's probably his best role in Chris Evans' entire acting career. But I'm still gonna have a soft spot for him as Johnny Storm, which... why the hell you have to kill him off in Deadpool and Wolverine?
I don't...
But there was a specific storyline in here that I think carries this movie for me, and that would be The Thing, where Ben Grimm hates being looked at as a monster and wishes to be human again. Like, it was heartbreaking to see his wife just leave him without giving him a chance to explain what happened to him when he went to go to space. And to make it worse, Ben couldn't even pick up the ring off the ground and had to have Reed help him pick it up. Which, now being older, I've come to realize that The Thing is a tragic character in Marvel Comics. Now, one positive I do have for The Thing is I love how the suit is practical. Sure, he may not look entirely comic accurate, but I like this design. And one last positive I do have for Fant4stic 4 is Dr. Doom. I absolutely love his design. It's my personal favorite, and it's a design I much prefer to see for Dr. Doom, as I think it's close to being comic accurate, and I do like the actor that portrays him, which, speaking about the actor, when the news broke out when the actor for Dr. Doom had passed away, I couldn't believe it. I was honestly heartbroken about it, because I grew up with this guy in the first 2 movies, and knowing that someone from my childhood has passed away makes me a little sad about it. So rest in peace to Julian McHannon, you will be deeply missed. Now, the nitpicks I do have for this movie would be some of the CGI being a hit or miss, but most of the time, the special effects isn't all that bad. But I don't like how Reed and Sue used to date, but are mainly just broken up for the entirety of this movie. Now, we don't technically have a love triangle between Reed, Sue, and Victor, but overall, I'm just not a fan with the direction they went for the relationship between Reed Richards and Susan Storm. Now, I do have some other nitpicks, but I think that's all I'm gonna say for Fantastic Four that was released in 2005. It's definitely flawed, and while it's not perfect, I'd say the first Fantastic Four movie was solid, so the best I can give it is an 8 out of 10. Hey, how you doing? You doing good? Yeah. Yeah, you're doing good. You're so adorable. Oh, I'm getting hair on my bed. Crap. You're so adorable. Say hi to Jeremiah. Now, I would say the first movie is better than the sequel, but if I had to pick a favorite out of these first two, I'm going with Fantastic Four: Rise of Silver Surfer. In fact, this movie was actually my favorite growing up as a kid, until around 2020 is the year I believe I found out about the ugly truth with a certain character in this movie that I'm about to bring up in a sec. But around 2020, I was shocked to find out that that fart cloud monster in the movie was actually Galactus. Alright then, so, whose dumbass idea was to turn Galactus into a fart cloud in this movie? That is gonna be my biggest complaints with this movie, but before I get on with my positives for Rise of Silver Surfer, I'm gonna start off with the negatives I have. Obviously, I am not happy with how they ruined Galactus by turning him into a fart cloud in this movie. Now, the next nitpick I do have is a rather mixed bag for me, because one, I am happy that Reed and Sue are together in this movie, but I wasn't sure if I was on board with the whole wedding subplot. I kind of would have preferred they just got married, like, off camera. Like, in between the first two movies. Like, they've been the Fantastic Four / celebrities for about a year now. That is one thing I will say, is that I do like that the Fantastic Four are mainly celebrities. Yes, they are superheroes, but they're celebrities. And that's something I think that's cool about them, as that what makes them stand out from other Marvel heroes, I suppose. But besides my biggest complaint of Galactus being a fart cloud, I think the biggest negatives for this movie and why I couldn't give this like a higher rating than the first movie is that there's so many subplots in this movie, as I've come to notice when rewatching Rise of Silver Surfer. But moving on to the pros I do have for this movie, right off the bat, Silver Surfer carries this movie hard. It's no wonder why I loved this movie as a kid, as I found Silver Surfer to be kind of a badass. But I'm surprised to find out that two actors played one character in this movie. One for physical appearance, while the other, voice acting. Now, I don't know the actor for the physical appearance, but I do know who voices him, and hopefully I remembered his name correctly. Something to do with Lawrence Fishburne. You've mainly seen him in the Matrix and John Wick films. While my biggest negative for this movie is Galactus being a fart cloud, my biggest positive for this movie is Silver Surfer being a straight up badass. Or as the kids would like to say nowadays, him just aura farming in this movie. Oh goodness gracious, is that what the Gen Z are using nowadays? Like, I'm in a weird generation for some reason. Anyways, moving on. There's one storyline I do like in this movie where the team has to deal with power swapping when Johnny Storm encounters Silver Surfer in this movie. But by the very end, when he has all the team's powers to go up against Dr. Doom, yeah, that entire fight was badass to watch. But for years now, I've only took Dr. Doom as a Fantastic Four villain until 2024 when I find out, oh no, he's not just a Fantastic Four villain. He's a major level threat for the Avengers. Therefore, kind of a big deal than just a regular villain for the Fantastic Four. And if that's the case, that means Dr. Doom has been done dirty in these last 3 Fantastic Four movies. So say what you want to say about RDJ as Dr. Doom, as I'm still losing my mind about that, even though it's been a year later since they announced that casting at San Diego Comic-Con last year. I think he's going to be way better than these last 2 versions we've gotten in these last 3 movies. Well, specifically Dr. Doom from Fant4stic, which I'm gonna get to him later in a sec. Overall, while these 2 movies aren't fantastic, they're fun and enjoyable. The sequel does improve a couple of things from the last movie, but with there being too many subplots, that's what's gonna hold it back for me, so the best I can give it is a 7.5 out of 10 for Rise of Silver Surfer. Alright, now let's talk about my thoughts with Fant4stic, which is now 10 years old as of today. I remember my experience from watching the trailers to then finally seeing the movie, because yes, I did saw this in theaters. I remember that very vividly. vividly. Did I say that correctly? Still, point is, I remember it very well like it was yesterday, even though it was about a decade ago as of today. Although I don't know if I saw the movie exactly on the day it was released, but point is, I saw the movie 10 years ago in theaters as a kid. Also, I was surprised to find out we were getting another Fantastic Four movie once the first teaser trailer came out. But by the time this movie was released, I was not aware that Fant4stic would be considered to be one of the worst superhero movies of all time. And while I may agree, me personally, I think Fant4stic is one of the most boring superhero movies I've ever watched on screen. Like, I can't think of a superhero movie that I felt bored watching. But I definitely have some major criticisms for this movie. Half of them being the criticisms I had 10 years ago. For starters, I am not a fan of how it takes us like half an hour just to have the team get their superpowers. In the first movie, yeah, it was rushed in like the very beginning, but with how they went with this route, yeah, I'm gonna go with how they just rushed the origin in the first movie. Now, the only pros I can think of for this movie is that I do think the cast is solid, although I prefer the original cast that we've gotten in the first two Fantastic Four movies. But the casting here isn't all that bad. I do think there could have been some potential for this to be somewhat decent, but I'm not gonna lie, all I got is just straight out negatives for this movie. I'm not a fan of their costume designs, but to this day, I am still not a fan of how the Thing was just basically butt-ass naked. Because as soon as that was revealed in the trailers, I'm like, where the heck are his pants? I'm also not a fan of how they showcase their powers as if this was a scene from a horror movie. Now, they do change up the Fantastic Four's origin in this movie by having them go to another dimension called Planet Zero. I actually did not mind that change, but I would still prefer the original origin where they just got their powers in outer space. But I think the biggest negative I would like to talk about the most in this movie is Dr. Doom. Oh my god. I was not a fan of his design 10 years ago, and 10 years later, yeah, I'm still not a fan to this day. I hate this design. The design we had for Dr. Doom in the first two Fantastic Four films is way better than what we got in this movie. Like, that to me is calm and accurate. I don't know what the hell you did here, just like, what the hell am I looking at? Now, the only pro I do have of Dr. Doom is just that hallway sequence where he's just walking through, killing a bunch of people, being OP as shit. Okay, that was cool. I'll admit that, but you still suck, Dr. Doom. Also, that scene where he killed Tim Blake Nelson's character, scarred the shit out of me as a kid, so I guess that's another pro there. You were at least threatening to me on screen, but still, again, point is, I hate this version of Dr. Doom. I am not a fan of it. So if anything, I'm very excited to see how RDJ is going to pull off playing Dr. Doom, because I know he's going to be way better than whatever the hell. Oh my god, I'm forgetting one more thing. It's crazy how a year before this movie was released, that the actor that played Dr. Doom played one of the greatest villains on screen, Koba from Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Because that movie is a goddamn masterpiece. Like, how the hell he went from playing a badass villain from a masterpiece of a film to playing Dr. Doom, who just sucked ass in Fant4stic. That is crazy. Are you kidding me right now? But I am not a fan of the tone they went with this movie, as the 2010s would give us movies that would be dark and brooding, like Man of Steel. And that's thanks to The Dark Knight being successful, that every studio thought, okay, we need to make every single superhero movie dark and broody. Yeah, that is not gonna work for every superhero movie. Specifically, Superman and the Fantastic Four. Maybe Spider-Man, as I think the Amazing Spider-Man also tried to be dark and broody, but still. I also hate how the Fantastic Four were just lab rats in this movie. Also, there is a confirmed kill count from The Thing, where he has killed 43 people in this movie. Like, goddamn. Oh, speaking about The Thing, his catchphrase. Whose idea was it to have his catchphrase come from his older brother, who would say it before he would bitch slap him? Basically abusing him or beating him up, whichever word you want to say. I mean, that scene made me a little uncomfortable as a kid, but now being older, I can handle it, kinda. And it's not as bad as I remember, but still! Whose idea was it? Also, I found some scenes to be very boring to watch on screen. This movie is just straight up depressing. Again, I am not a huge fan of the tone. I do not like it at all. It does not fit well with Fantastic Four. Well, the first two movies were basically fun and campy, if those are the right words I'm using. Also, I feel like I got clickbaited into watching this movie because if you've seen poster covers for this movie, the background the Fantastic Four in is a city covered in ruins. I happen to be a sucker of that kind of shit. And I've seen that in Transformers 3, Avengers, and Man of Steel. Specifically in their final battles. One in Chicago, one in New York, one in Metropolis. But we don't see that anywhere in this movie. Also, this would be one of those movies where the trailers were so much better than the movie itself. Hell, I rewatched the trailers recently, and I'm like, oh my god. The trailers were so much better. What went wrong with this movie? I've actually been doing a little research, watching a couple of YouTube videos. Now, you could search them up yourself, but from what I have gathered so far, this movie had a very troubled production. And when you rewatch the trailers, you can notice that there were a ton of scenes removed. And once you watch the movie, you could tell which scenes were reshot, as this went through tons of reshoots. Now, I don't know if there was studio interference with this movie, but 20th Century Fox were like very rushed to get this out just so they could keep the rights to the Fantastic Four. And to make matters worse, the director mistreated everyone on set, specifically the actress that plays Sue Storm, all because Fox didn't want to have a black Invisible Woman like how we have a black Human Torch in this film. And 10 years ago, I did not mind that we had a black Human Torch. I was actually cool with it because it was Michael B. Jordan. Come on. He's got the acting chops to pull off playing Johnny Storm. But you wanna know what pisses me off the most with Dr. Doom being in this movie? They straight up killed him off! Look, I know Fox did him dirty in these last 3 Fantastic Four movies, but in the first 2 films, he wasn't entirely killed off, so that I was fine with. What I was not fine with was how they completely wasted Dr. Doom in this movie by just killing him off at the very end. As this movie's supposed to be set in the same universe with the X-Men movies and the Deadpool films. Like, look at this photo here. We were supposed to get a solo Gambit movie at one point played by Channing Tatum. But I'm glad that he got the chance to play the character in Deadpool Wolverine. And I'm excited to see him again in Avengers Doomsday. Overall, this movie is not great, and thank God Marvel was able to get the rights back to both the X-Men and the Fantastic Four, as Fox did those 2 franchises extremely dirty. Although Fantastic Four has had it worse than whatever X-Men went through with their movies. Now, I don't hate this movie as much as others do. There's some entertainment value in it, at least. I don't love it, so the best I'm gonna give it is a 6 out of 10, although I shouldn't give it that high of a rating, but that's just how I feel about it. But if anything, this movie is better than other terrible films I have seen, and I would much rather rewatch Fant4stic or even Justice League than rewatch Snow White. Also, there's one scene that I'm very grateful this movie has given us, and it would be this iconic ending.
Gotta say, it's fantastic.
Say that again?
I gotta say, that meme is fantastic.
Say that again?
Also, one last comment I will say, thank God we got a better Fantastic Four movie 10 years later, as we have Fantastic Four First Steps now playing in theaters. You will know my thoughts on that movie soon, once I review Captain America 4 and Thunderbolts first. 2 reviews I'm very late on making. But yeah, those are just my thoughts with all 3 Fantastic Four movies. Hope you guys enjoy. Be sure to let me know the thoughts, comments down below on each one. Which one is your favorite? For me, if I had to pick out of the 3, I'm going with Rise of Silver Surfer. But if you were to ask me which is the best Fantastic Four movie, I think you know the answer to that question. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this triple review, and as always, I'll see you on the next video. Peace out.